Welcome back to another video here, guys. It is your boy Kesh, and today what we're going to be talking about is how to master your darkness as a man. This is going to be a video for my guys out there, in particular, guys who have been used to being people pleasers, guys who've been used to, kind of being the lowest on the totem pole, right? And what most of us are going to figure out here, and what you've already maybe figured out is that's not really going to help you elevate to your highest potential, right? Being the, super agreeable, super compliant kind of individual just isn't going to get you the kind of results you want in your career, in your relationships. But more than anything, what it's doing is actually stifling a piece of your personality, a piece of who you are, that if integrated properly and expressed properly, can actually help you live the most authentic version of yourself. So we're pretty much going to go ahead and dive right in. And as we go ahead and get into it, I'm going to be speaking to some of the guys here who may be watching, right? And let me know if this in the comments. Let me know if this resonates with you, right? And it's simple. I was born in the Dominican Republic. I came from a Spanish household, Dominican Spanish household. And when you're a child in this kind of environment, you're essentially treated like a second-class citizen. So your words, your thoughts, your emotions mean nothing to those around you because you're a kid and you don't know any better, right? That's going to be the general consensus. And for those of you who have been in environments like this and have dealt with family scenarios and dynamics such as the ones that I just explained, that kind of environment is going to plant a deep resentment within you. And instead of letting yourself feel it more often than not, if you've been a people pleaser, if you've been bred to essentially be compliant and putting others' emotions before your own, you're going to end up burying these emotions within you, right? You're going to label anger, dissatisfaction, right? Non-compliance, and so forth. You're going to label those things as bad, right? And then whenever those feelings do arise, like I did, I would just numb them. And this is where addictions and compulsions are going to be a huge part of this kind of personality type's psychology, right? When I got angry as a kid, the most I would do was punch my pillow. I'd say a few cuss words, and then again, I would immediately self-soothe. So you're never in a position where you can feel your emotions fully. They never have an opportunity to breathe and actually be expelled from your body. So in actuality, you're just carrying this anger, this resentment in your nervous system, and even to the point of your muscles, your fascia, right? You're carrying this for years on end. And the issue is since you're judging them as bad, since you think that they are a defect in your own psychology, right? You never utilize them and alchemize them, as a lot of people say, integrate them, right? To build that edge, to be able to control your emotions, allowing all of them to be fully expressed and allowing them to be used when necessary, right? If you've always been used to containing your anger and never letting it breathe, moments where you need to be angry, where you need to apply force, are going to feel unfamiliar to you and you're going to hesitate. This is where guys who would normally be very, very brave end up turning into cowards, right? And what's missing is that danger, that raw force that you need to carry if you want to be the best man that you can be, right? That kind of force and energy is what you see great heroes carrying, right? The Alexander the Greats, the Malcolm X's of the world, and so forth. You need to be able to have been familiar with your feelings, giving them enough time for you to understand them so that when they are eventually expressed, they don't burn down the entire house, right? But again, if you've never given yourself the opportunity to feel these things because you've been used to hiding them to make everyone feel better about some of the things that they've done to you or that they're doing in general, well then when you actually need it in the real world, when you're growing up as a man, you're always going to feel deficient. You're always going to feel like you're missing something. And what you're missing, again, is that masculine edge and that force. For a lot of guys out there who are not ready to admit this to themselves, they go about their life being extremely peaceful, right? What they call peaceful. They go about their life being very compliant, very reasonable, allowing other people's emotions to always supersede theirs. But there's something that a lot of you need to understand here, right? If you're peaceful, as you like to call it, because you're incapable of going there, and you guys know exactly what I mean by going there when you need to, well, then you're not really truly peaceful. You're just a coward, right? You're just inept. You're incapable. Now, if you have the capabilities to go there if you need to, right? You've trained your mind, your body, your spirit. You can handle the fire inside you without burning down the entire village, but then you choose to be peaceful. That's what they call humility, right? And a lot of you guys aren't humble as you think you are. A lot of you are just very, very afraid. And luckily, I understand exactly where you're coming from. And the point again of this video is to help you learn how to master, this side of you, how to bring it into your entire personality, right? And utilize the benefits that come with being able to integrate these darker sides of yourself. And I understand that this video might hit some of you in your ego, right? You want to protect this identity that you've created that has helped you stay alive, specifically when growing up. But I'm here to shake up your fucking reality, because if you've tuned into this video, I'm pretty sure you know that you need to make a change, right? As a man, as I mentioned before, you must have an element of danger inside you. Your body, your mind, and your spirit, they must carry some of what we call darkness. The reason that we're going to do this is pretty simple, because if we don't, you will never have the resilience to defend your respect and your honor. And if no one takes you seriously in this life, you will never accomplish anything of merit. You will never fulfill your destiny and your dreams. Why? Because you need allies. You need people to be able to follow the program. But you first must correct your own program. Again, if you're not taken seriously, you will accomplish absolutely nothing in this life. And the great thing about it is everything is an external reflection of your internal world. So once you begin to respect yourself, others will follow suit. And again, it's important to understand the spiritual side of this, because you're going to need all of the energy that you have, that you can muster in order to accomplish your life's mission. And when you dishonor yourself and allow others to dishonor you, you're destroying your energy, because you are killing a piece of God inside you. You are shattering your consciousness. You stop being divine and you start living as a shell. You stop operating on a higher frequency, which is self-love at the root of it. You start living at a lower frequency, which is going to be more animalistic, going along to get along, just looking to survive. And for the majority of us, we've developed these personality traits to survive. If you want to accomplish your God-given mission, you need to figure out a way to get out of survival mode. And these are going to be important tenets to do so, because you must honor yourself. You must express self-love, or nothing in this world will ever truly be able to love you and work for you, right? That's why the ancients held honor so high. That's why the samurais would rather die than live without it. They would rather die than kill a piece of God inside them by allowing people to walk all over them. And what happens when you avoid your emotions and you continuously bottle them up is that you keep them locked within your soul, right? You keep them locked inside your soul. And when you do that for long enough, you grow up into an adult who fears confrontation. And for those who grew up in abusive households, the word confrontation, generally your mind tends to go with violence. More often than not, you're not going to be fighting every second of your life, right? Confrontation can mean just having a conversation about something, right? Just meeting something head on and not allowing it to muster. As I like to say, anxiety let's say the anxiety that comes with confrontation or avoided confrontation, anxiety is just unfinished business. I'm going to say that one more time. Anxiety is unfinished business. And when you grow up as an adult who fears confrontation, it more than likely signals that you can't confront yourself. And if you can't confront yourself and your emotions and what you've been repressing, what others have done to you, you're going to live a life as a shell of who you could have been. And that's exactly what happened to me. I grew up micromanaging my emotions, calculating how I was perceived. I was terrified of rejection. I stayed small, never too popular, never too successful, never too much of myself. And in doing that, I was killing the essence of God within me every single day. And I became what people wanted me to become. And I did this continuously for years. That when it was all said and done, and none of those people were no longer in my life, right? You look back and you look in the mirror and you don't even know who you are. And this is why, in addition, I'm a big believer in combat sports, right? I'm not saying go in there and hard spar and get your brains kicked in, right? We need our brains, especially if you're, using it every single day. You're not trying to go pro. But if you think about it, what's more confrontational than taking a hard jab to the face, right? Nothing is going to strip away the illusions you've created faster, right? Nothing is going to force you to confront your fears like standing in front of someone who has been doing this for years, and if they wanted to, they could end you, right? And in that moment, what it's going to do is it's either going to force you to collapse or you're going to rise. And I made a promise to myself that no one will ever strike fear in me again, and I would rather die than to dishonor the God in me. I'm using the fighting example here, the fighting analogy. But again, when someone's striking fear in you, it doesn't have to be violent, right? Maybe you're afraid to say this thing because you think someone's going to judge you, right? And you're afraid to be ostracized from the group. The beautiful thing about living in the 21st century, guys, is you can always find a new tribe. Just go online, look for like-minded individuals, set up meetups, put in the work. Don't settle for just being tolerated or just for being tolerated for a version that makes everybody else comfortable, right? Don't let anyone or anything make you go into a scarcity mindset and make you feel like you must lose yourself and be less than who you are in order to be accepted. Let me tell you something as well, ending off this video. For those who've been on this journey, this leveling up shit is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the weak. It's not smooth at all, right? It's devastatingly brutal. You're going to get hit. You're going to bleed. You're going to be exposed, right? And it's not even really necessarily the entirety of you that's going to get exposed. It's the side of you that thought that it knew everything. The side of you that thought that it knew better, right? The side of you that thought that your emotions, your darker emotions were beneath you, right? That you're not also an animal on top of being a god. But that is exactly how you alchemize the darkness into your strength. That's how you become balanced. Not a violent person, but not a passive person, but a man who has the ability to go there if he has to. Because as they say, in this life, you don't want to be a gardener in a war. You want to be a warrior in a garden. I'll check you guys out in the next video. Take care, guys.